Hi, I'm Rebecca Sperber, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I'd like to share with you a recent interview I did with Dr. Temple Grandin. Dr. Grandin is a professor of animal science at Colorado State University. She is also on the autism spectrum herself and is actually quite famous and well studied in the field of autism. She has written many, many books on the topic, and she is also a strong advocate for vocational training for young students and for young adults and for older people, even to learn job skills so they can be in the workplace and have functional, purposeful experiences in their lives. So, hopefully, parents and teachers and administrators of programs will learn something from Dr. Grandin and my discussion in terms of how to set up programs and create opportunities for people on the spectrum to work. Thank you for taking the time. After our panel with Stephen Shore and Ethan, I was thinking about the exchange that we had about vocational training, and that's what I wanted to, pick your brain a little bit more about. I think I had shared with you there's just such a deficit of that going on at the adult day programs, and I wanted to, find out a little bit more about your history. Like, when did the whole concept of vocational training come into your life? Like, how old were you? And
I was too old in second grade, and so was every other kid in the 50s.
Second grade.
Second grade. Hammer, pliers, and screwdriver. Not a saw. Hammer, pliers, and screwdriver. And I would play with these little parachutes, and I'd cut coat hangers with the pliers. And I can remember a little kid's hand wasn't strong enough to just cut it, so I'd make a dent in it, and then I'd go like that and bend it.
Wow.
Oh, we were all using tools, and by the time fifth grade, I was using a little tiny small hand saw too.
Wow.
Everybody was doing that.
Was this
the big problem? We have kids want to build things. Look at all the Legos that sell.
Right.
And I think that's great, but kids need to graduate from Legos to tools.
Right. Right. Were you in a public school or private school?
I went to a small private school, and I took shop class in fifth grade.
Mm-hmm.
And in fourth grade, I had a toy sewing machine that actually sewed, and in third grade, I was doing embroidery.
Wow. So,
this is 50s. It was all hands-on stuff.
Yeah, I remember being told by one of my son Vinny's tutors that they used to have these workshop shelters, even here in Los Angeles, where that was what was going on, like teaching kids how to use tools and how to prepare for being in a workplace setting, and that is all gone.
Well, I think it's a real problem because the jobs that AI is not going to touch is going to be skill trades.
True.
Those jobs are AI proof.
Right. Have you, I don't know what it's like in Colorado, but have you, looked into this issue, vocational training for people on the spectrum in your state? Are there
I've worked with people. When I worked in construction, I worked with people that had big machine shops that were on the autism spectrum, undiagnosed, 20 patents each. Good patents. The beef industry actually uses. This is what makes me crazy. And one of them just started out working on cars. The others just took a single welding course with FFA, started a small shop, and they grew.
Mm-hmm. What kind of supervision went on there? Because I'm thinking right now, what I would hear here in Los Angeles: safety, safety, safety. We're afraid the kids, the young adults are going to hurt themselves, and they just stay away from anything that isn't
the problem
challenging.
Is that we don't have anybody to fix factories. I mean, I worked with people that, like, you had the weird maintenance man every plant. They could fix anything. That person's gone.
Yeah.
And that person is probably autistic. I worked with them. I worked in construction for 25 years. I worked with every single major meat company out on construction jobs.
Wow.
70s, 80s, and 90s. And we need people that can build things.
Right. What was your supervision or training along the way as your skills were developing?
Well, when I was a little kid, we just messed around in the workshop and we'd go find old boards. And then we did experiments like we thought if you put a brand new piece of lumber under the sprinkler and wet it, it would make it easier to cut. It did not. It made it worse to cut. And we had a regular hand saw by that time.
Mm-hmm.
We had power tools.
Yeah.
I think now battery operated drills kids could use, smaller ones.
Yeah. So what did you have? One teacher? You had one teacher watching you guys?
Shop class, but we also just went out in the backyard and would get old wooden stuff and just make stuff out of it. And I was doing that like 10, 11 years old.
Wow. The thinking has gone so far away from developing skills that allow people on the spectrum to move more into society. And part of that is the workplace. Everything is so focused on safety.
A lot of these people that were really good that I worked with, they had their own independent businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ones that were successful working inside a plant, they all went to a little shop inside the plant. And one guy, he was there for years. And anything electrical in that plant he could fix. We were best buddies. And the plant got sold. And this is a dangerous time for people on the spectrum. The boss changed. They reassigned him to another plant. They did not go well. Yeah. But when he had his little shop and people would just bring all their problems to him, he could. There were a lot of people like that. I worked with them. We were best buddies.
Mm-hmm. Did you work
about how stupid the owners of the plant were?
Did you work with people on both ends of the spectrum? I mean, these kids that you're talking about
these are people that were fully verbal, probably Asperger type without speech delay.
Yeah.
But some of them were very autistic.
Yeah. What do you think about the people on the lower end of the spectrum that do have cognitive deficits, that do not speak, but behaviorally they're okay?
But some of them can learn to type.
Yes.
Some of them can. I think that should be encouraged. And the only way you can be sure who the author is that they've got to type independently. But I've seen parents take a letterboard and be moving it. That's cute.
Yeah.
They said independent typing, whatever they type on, whether it's a piece of cardboard or a computer, whatever it is, it cannot be touched. Mm-hmm. And the person cannot be touched.
Right. So you
otherwise, that's the only way I can rule out queuing.
Yeah. I went through that facilitated communication, and I could see that the facilitator was moving my son's arm. I know that what was coming out of what she said, his thoughts were not anything like thoughts that I know he's capable of.
No, that's the problem.
Yeah, I know so many of us parents, have gone through different stages with our kids who, aren't very verbal and have cognitive deficits. And you sit them in front of a typewriter, and when, a lot doesn't come out, it can be very, disappointing. But they still can be taught to copy things or to use the typewriter in some kind of functional way. I mean, what would you tell, let's say a program setting who did not do much in the vocational area?
Well, the problem we got with autism is you're going from Einstein, Bill Gates, and people like that, to people with very severe deficits.
Right.
One of them needs, and you take people like me. I took woodshop in 5th grade, and I was building all kinds of, making all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever think it's too late for kids to start getting involved?
Too late. Because you take the video game addicts, what's been successful to wean them off? Car mechanics. They discover that motors are more interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess the idea is also, to get their minds thinking in more expansive ways. Because, like a lot of
the reason why I wrote this book right here.
I have that book right next to my bed.
That's the reason why I wrote it.
Right. The people on the lower end of the spectrum are not given the opportunities, and that's why I really wanted to talk to you and get you're very positive about vocational training.
Well, some of them can do some, work that needs to be done.
Right.
Like one thing that has to be done in the supermarket is flatten it. For a lot of places, you have to flatten cardboard boxes.
Yeah.
There's some of them that put pizza boxes together at the pizza parlor.
Right. Yeah, those are very visually driven tasks. And
those are jobs they could do. And the other thing is when it comes to challenging behavior, let's say you have a client that's been good, now he's terrible. The first thing you got to rule out is hidden painful medical. Urinary tract infections, earaches, stomach aches, things they can't tell you about.
Right. That's true. And sometimes the less verbal people, they get frustrated because they want something or they don't want something and they can't communicate. Right. And that's why I think these day programs, they need to have the aides more trained in alternate ways of communication. Like for my son, if you just write something down for him, he can read it.
Well, then you write it down.
Yeah.
You can read.
Right. But it's not an expectation of a lot of the people who work in these programs. And that's what I've been pushing for. I just wrote a letter to every board member at my son's day program to talk to them about getting people out there to find vocational sites in the community. Los Angeles is a huge place. There's plenty of places.
There's things you can do, folding towels in hotels.
Yeah.
And what I found, I went into the middle of Mexico to a pork processing plant, deep in Mexico, barbed wire all around the place. They didn't allow any employee cars in because of all the drugs and crime. And so they had nice buses that went into town to pick up all their employees. And the head of the plant had an handicapped son, and they had a great program in there for putting people to work. And you had one Asperger guy that did all the labeling and everything for Japanese product that has to be done really well. And then they had people like cognitively impaired putting boxes together. But one of the big problems, like they have a coffee shop or something like that, employing people that might be nonverbal, the transportation.
Fortunately, my son's at a program where transportation would be provided. However, like if you were going to go into a restaurant or a supermarket and make a pitch to give these nonverbal, lower cognitive young people opportunity for vocational tasks, what would you say? Because I find a lot of these programs they're hesitant to go into the community businesses and make a pitch to give them a chance.
Yeah, people get worried about violent behavior is one of the things.
Right.
The problem. Like I know one lady that has a son that's very, cognitively impaired, nonverbal. And he injured a waiter one time at a restaurant.
Oh.
Yeah, this was not good.
Yeah, I guess there's always that concern. However, with the right supervision.
But then you've got, I saw a lady that had a really creative art thing. They made all kinds of stuff and sold them. And she found a job for, the most severely impaired. And then I went to a place in Salt Lake City, a children's workshop, and they did a paper shredding business.
Yeah.
With a bank. And the thing the bank liked is that none of the clients there could read. Because I looked at the stuff on conveyors and there was like all this really confidential banking documents.
Yeah.
I read some of them. And that's exactly what they wouldn't want. They don't want the colored paper mixed in with the white. So the people that were most severe, they'd separate the colored paper from the white paper, take staples out of it. So because when you recycle paper, you want it white, you don't want the colored paper in there.
Right.
And they had, then you get into the whole issue about shoulder workshops. And then there was one room where people were putting ski brochures in envelopes. And there was one lady there, very, very slow. Very slow. And there's no way you could pay her a regular wage. You see, this is where you get some of the advocates to kind of, just think just one way. Now, what do I do with the lady that stuffs the brochures really slowly. Okay, I don't think it abstracts. Where do we put her? She was trying really hard. She didn't no behavior problems, but she might in 5 minutes get 5 brochures stuffed.
Well, it would depend. I mean,
if she wants to work, there's no way I can pay her a competitive wage.
No.
Where would you put her?
No. Well, what things I would like to know about her would be like, what are her goals? How much of her goals relate to how much money she's going to be paid? How much of her goals relate to wanting to feel useful or be around other people?
I think feeling useful is really important. They know there's a fake work and real work. Feeling useful is really important.
Yeah.
They know the difference.
Yeah. So,
and stuffing brochures is useful work.
Yes, because it's got to go out. Of course it is.
Then they had a guy that probably, like the 5th grade level, and he ran a shredding machine.
Yeah, my son shreds. He loves it.
No, they have a machine they stuff the papers.
Yeah, and they like the visual thinkers like the completion. They like to, they understand when they have finished a job, and it's definitely purposeful and useful. A lot of people will say to me, well, if they're not going to really make money and they're not going to be independent and they don't understand the concepts, what's the point of putting them in a vocational setting?
Well, the problem we got with autism is you're going all the way from somebody that owns a machine shop to somebody that can barely put brochures on an envelope. Correct. And you've got the same name put on it.
Well, there has to be proper assessment of a person before you put them somewhere. You don't want to put them somewhere with a fast conveyor belt to do something fast when they have, slow motor responses. I mean, you have to place them correctly. But this whole idea of I feel there is a place for everybody to be useful and to be purposeful.
The thing I feel very strongly about it, they know the difference between busy work and real work. They know the difference. Like I talked to one really good behavior specialist, and one of the clients got really pissed because they made her set and unset the table 10 times in a row. Well, nobody does that. You set the table 8.
It's insulting, actually.
Well, they know the difference.
Right.
Now, she knew she was doing real work, putting brochures in envelopes. That wasn't just fake work.
Well, how would she feel about doing that work in a volunteer capacity where money wasn't involved, or was money a motivation for her?
So these people got some pay. I think people need to feel useful.
Yeah. And, vocational settings, vocational training is an avenue that I feel is very... But then I see people... But there are more places than people realize. I mean, there's grocery stores, there's restaurants, but there's also gardening shops. There's also some form of animal care.
Some of the ones that are nonverbal things with greenhouses has been really good.
Yeah.
There's a program called Brookwood in Texas. They live there, and they plant poinsettias, and they make sculptures and sell them in their store.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And also retail for some people, or animal care.
Somebody criticized them because they weren't out in regular public employment.
I think people who are willing to either hire or allow people to come in and get some training and do some useful contribution, to a setting.
I think one of the really good what Walgreens did. And they changed the computers in the distribution warehouse so you didn't have to be able to read. And the disability warehouse outperformed the regular one. And then I asked them, I had an interesting dinner with them. And I asked the guy who ran the program, what percentage of the warehouse managers really bought into it? They said about 75 to 80%.
Mm-hmm. Well, you'll come across people like that all the time who don't want to put out the effort, or they're not compassionate or understanding or curious.
And the disability warehouses did better on filling the orders than the regular people warehouses.
I believe it.
Okay, so like a store orders a certain amount of stuff. Mm-hmm. They've got to pack it up in the boxes and make sure they get it.
Right. Well, one of my passions is just making sure that the people on the spectrum, in my advocation for my son, is that just because they don't talk a lot and just because they may not understand, every aspect of having a career or vocational counseling,
they still could benefit greatly socially, behaviorally,
Yeah.
verbally by being in a vocational setting. And that's what I'm trying to do, is to get these programs to get out there and try to get, local companies to open up programs that they can come in with an aid. And
One thing, if I ran a store, I'm not going to tolerate violent behavior.
it's dangerous. Correct.
Yeah, I can't. And then also they have to learn that, okay, if they're getting overstimulated, take a break. Go back in the back of the store. Just take a break.
Yeah. There has to be flexibility when you've got someone who can become, dysregulated or unfocused. But I find a lot of times just that little break allows them to then come back and be focused again.
Take a little break. Yeah, right. Just take a little break.
And especially because a lot of these kids and young people, they like completion. They like that closure. They know when something is finished. And that really supports the notion of put them in a vocational setting and they'll want to finish the job. They don't like disruption or things being half done.
Yeah.
And that's a quality that I think is not fully appreciated. I think a lot of people who hear about you, hear you speak, read your books, they can't believe that you're autistic.
Well, when I was in high school, everybody thought I was stupid. I couldn't do higher math. I still can't do higher math.
Mm-hmm.
But I just looked at a drawing for a pork plant today, and I'm like, oh, you don't want to do the concrete work? I'm going to draw how you guys do the concrete work, and you're going to do it.
Uh-huh.
If you don't like it.
Yeah. Well, what you've accomplished is amazing. And, I saw your mother speak in Culver City some years ago.
Yeah, about 10 years ago.
Her journey with you was so touching.
Well, she had a very good sense of just how much to push me. A lot of parents today coddle their kids and baby them. I mean, I can't believe there's 16-year-olds that are fully verbal. They've never gone shopping. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think I put one of your quotes in a post that I did about, your mom would say something like high demand with proper accommodation.
No, high expectation. With some accommodations.
Yeah.
Like when we visited relatives, I had a place where I could run.
Mm-hmm.
When we went on a ferry with a really loud horn, I was allowed to ride in the cabin underneath. But I was going to go on that ferry.
Yeah, well, your mom was ahead of her time.
So your vocational stuff that you're working with would be more of the non-speaking, not the Asperger type.
No, it's low verbal.
All right, okay.
Remember theory of mind? I had mentioned to you on the last panel that we did that he has the theory of mind type of autism. He's very visually driven. He likes things done just so he knows the right way to do things when you show it to him. And because he doesn't talk very much, and he doesn't, make demands on teachers or in programs, as long as he's safe and it looks like he's happy, they're happy. And that is of concern to me and, other young people who can do so much more than they're viewed as. I just think you're, a great advocate for the importance of, vocational training, building skills. My thing for my son is just to keep reminding, programs and whoever comes in contact with him that he is a learner. Autism is not regressive; it's progressive.
Yeah.
And opportunity.
What's your son doing right now?
He's in a day program, and they have a couple of outings that they do that they call that's their vocational training. One is Meals on Wheels, which is a great program. My problem with that is all you do as a skill is get out of the car, pick up a bag, hand it to someone, and get back in the car. That's fine, but that's not all that he's capable of doing. And if you do that same low-level, one-level task for years, you're missing out on growth.
Yeah.
So, he does that, and they'll go to, like a secondhand store and maybe hang up clothes, on a rack or something. But I think the problem is it's very static. Whatever they do, that's what they do, and they're doing it the next year and the next year.
Some people work in factories that do the same thing over and over again.
But the kids some of the kids or the young people, they get bored. They get bored with the repetition. Right?
Well, I get bored with that.
I would too.
And
I would
seem
too.
different people are capable of different things.
Right. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. The last panel we did, I just got a little bit of exchange with you on vocational. I was really hungry to get more because I know you're such an advocate for it, for the whole, the whole spectrum of people. And you gave me some other ideas that I'm going to bring up for my son as well.